Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
You know, the United States government is the single biggest buyer of goods and services on the entire planet. But for decades, actually buying anything has been, well, notoriously complicated and slow. A massive change is underway, though, and we're going to break down the new playbook that's trying to fix it all. Okay, let's dive in. I mean, it's a fair question, right? It really gets to the heart of the whole problem. Why is it so incredibly difficult for the government to buy something as simple as a laptop? You or I could do it in 5 minutes online. Well, the answer is a giant mountain of rules and regulations, all designed to prevent mistakes. But what they really end up doing is preventing progress. And believe it or not, that mountain is about to get a whole lot smaller. The government is actually in the process of getting rid of over 1,000 mandates from its core rulebook, which is called the Federal Acquisition Regulation, or FAR. And look, this isn't just some spring cleaning. It's a fundamental overhaul of how the government does business. To really understand why this is such a big deal, we got to take a look at the old world, a system that pretty much felt like navigating a billion-dollar maze. Yeah, for years, the number one priority for federal buyers wasn't getting the best value or finding the most innovative new thing. Nope. It was all about rigid compliance, following every single rule down to the letter. The biggest fear wasn't that the mission would fail. It was that a losing company would file a protest. This created a culture that just avoided risk at all costs, and it slowed everything down to a crawl. But now, there's a new strategy that's designed to just cut right through all that red tape. It's called the FAR Companion, and it's all about one thing: restoring common sense to federal buying. And look, this isn't just some catchy marketing phrase. This is the official mission statement. The whole goal is to strip away all the rules that aren't actually required by law and aren't absolutely essential. That frees up federal employees to, use their professional judgment. So, what exactly is this FR Companion? It's really important to get this. It is not a new rulebook. Think of it more like a playbook. It gives advice, it shares best practices, and it provides helpful context, but it doesn't add a single new rule. It's all about building confidence, not creating more compliance checklists. This really represents a huge cultural shift. The focus is moving away from that rigid compliance and towards sound judgment. So instead of just blindly following mandates, buyers are now encouraged to apply advice. That paralyzing fear of protests, that's being replaced by an acceptance of managed risks. It's the difference between being handed a thick, restrictive rulebook and being given a flexible, strategic playbook. Okay, so how does this playbook actually work? Well, the FAR Companion encourages 3 key behavioral shifts, and we can think of them as the pillars of this new approach: talk, plan, and adapt. First up, talk. For the longest time, government folks were really hesitant to speak with companies before a formal request for proposals went out. This new guidance just shatters that old way of thinking. It explicitly encourages one-on-one meetings to get a better handle on what the market can actually offer. It's about using plain language and just talking with industry early and often to get better ideas and, let's be honest, better results. The second pillar, plan, is a huge shift in timing. The old way was often to wait until the money was officially approved, and then you'd rush to spend it all. The FAR Companion says, no, start the planning process the second you identify a need. This means you build your team early, you do your market research, and you treat the acquisition plan not as some static document set in stone, but as a living guide that can change as you learn more. And the third pillar is adapt. This is where innovation really gets a chance to shine. There's something called outcome-based contracting. So instead of giving a company a 100-page document detailing exactly how to build something, the government is now encouraged to simply describe what it needs to achieve. This totally unleashes the creativity of the private sector to come up with the best, most modern solution they can think of. Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. But the most important question is, why does this matter? What's the real-world impact of shifting from this old rulebook to a new playbook? Well, the benefits are huge, and they touch pretty much everyone. Taxpayers, they get better value for their money because the government can now access more innovative and cost-effective ideas. Small businesses get better access because the whole process is simpler and encourages way more communication. Critical government missions, everything from defense to healthcare, get what they need faster. And finally, the federal workforce itself is empowered to actually use their expertise and make smart decisions. So, the bottom line is this. By moving away from a culture that was obsessed with rules and toward one that's focused on results, the entire system just becomes more effective. This isn't just about tweaking some procurement process. It's about fundamentally changing the government's relationship with industry to drive innovation and speed. And that really brings us to our final thought here. The FAR Companion is a powerful experiment. It's about applying basic common sense to a famously complex system. It's about trusting professionals to do their jobs and focusing on the mission. And it leaves you with a pretty big question. If this approach can work for government buying, what other complex challenges could be solved by just getting back to basics?
A special thank you to MarketUS.com for furnishing us this information. You can reach them at MarketUS.com or call them at 954-636-3232. Before we go, this deep dive was created by the MarketUS.com team. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It's right below the subscribe link.